I got some fish heads in there.
Well, you look familiar.
Evening, everyone.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, what's the peanut butter?
Just so Karen can take attendance, and then Nick can get his roll call done. Looks like we got one phone number without a name. 914-262-6969. If you could unmute and identify, that would be great.
That might be John Mahoney.
Okay.
Hi, that's Terry Hamilton, Rockland County, 914-262-69.
Outstanding.
Sorry, Terry.
Welcome, Terry.
John usually calls in on a couple of lines, so.
I know Nick tries to kind of do the roll call looking at some of the names, so it kind of helps him because everybody muting and unmuting sometimes gets lost.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, but I use my participate ID, so my name only shows up once.
And we appreciate you being here just once, John.
Yeah, twice would be too much even for myself.
And oh, he's like me. He says GG when he probably in second place. At least I say GG to my first, to the person that beats me. Yeah.
Is that your background, Karen?
Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on. What background?
Was there somebody talking in your room?
Maybe my son. Philip, can you shut your door? They can hear you. I'm like, what background? Sorry, guys.
Don't apologize. It's his home.
So let's raise our hands. Who's going to miss this in a few months?
Please. All right. Looks like we've got enough people here. We'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody to the meeting this evening. It's May the 19th, 2021, Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council meeting. Before we get started, just like to make sure that we're keeping the Pledge of Allegiance is a little tough, so say it in your own mind. But more importantly, if we could just take a quick minute and remember those that we've lost not only over the last year, but those that have been in EMS and paid that ultimate sacrifice. You know, just keep them in your thoughts for just a half a minute here. All right, thank you very much. And to everybody on the call, I know it's EMS week. We'll try and keep this short and to the point. We do have a bunch of things on the agenda, but let you guys get back to your members and your groups and your organizations and celebrate EMS with them. But I am going to give a shout out to the program agency staff for EMS week, because sometimes we forget that they're as involved in EMS as we're there. So to the Bill Hughes and Jeff and to Karen, thank you for everything you do for us, because none of us want to do that job day in and day out. It's kind of a thankless job. So thank you very much for doing your job and doing it as well as you do to help us out each day. So thank you very much. Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you for roll call, please.
Thank you, sir. Start with Dutchess County, Nicholas Trio, present. Dave Violante,
Here?
Joan Siebert, Tim Murphy, Dee Sagendorf,
Here.
Tim Gilnack. Moving to Orange County, Michael Bigg, Rich Haley,
Here.
Wayne Chan. I see Wayne. Dave Grass, I know is here. Israel Knobloch, Kelly Peichel, Frank Cassanite, John Hanson. Moving on to Putnam County, Robert Cuomo, David Jacobson.
Here.
Thank you. Denise Montana, Faith Martin, Steve Wigand, Sarah Baker. Rockland County, Bernice Garati, Nick Rusieski.
Here.
Thank you. Tim Egan, Desiree Leone.
Here.
Thank you. Glenn Albin, Teresa Hamilton.
Present.
Thank you. Neil Dayan, BJ Leidner.
Here.
Sullivan County, Abby Bachman. I saw Abby. Alex Rao.
Alex is here.
Thank you. Neil Mehta. Heidi Stack. Mark Strauss. Sean Lewis. Ulster County, Richard Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson.
Here.
Tim Mitchell. Matthew Goodnow. Karen Pardini.
Here.
Is there anybody who's a representative who I didn't call you, that I didn't call your name or you didn't respond?
I'm not sure where I sat. I am now the interim administrator for the town of Patterson, EMS in Putnam.
Hold on a second. He's not listed as a representative. Okay, hold on.
Well, I got a couple that I'm going to read, Nick, as soon as you're done.
Okay.
You've got, but I believe it's not, Putnam is not listed in here.
Right.
Whoever signed in is NWEM, so New Windsor.
Hey, it's Mike Big. Sorry, I'll change that. I'm here.
Oh, okay, we have 16 in attendance. We need quorum we need 13 for quorum, so we are in good shape. Thank you. We can move on.
All right, outstanding. Before we go too far, I just want to make sure we had a couple of correspondence. I'm going to change the agenda for just a second, so bear with me. I'm going to go over to delegates that were put in. So just for clarification, everybody in here, from Rockland County, we have a letter from Bernice Garati, and if I butchered that, I apologize. Respectfully asking that Desiree Leon Stahl be reappointed to a full seat on the Hudson Valley Council. Feel free to contact her if she has any questions, if we have any questions. And then we have one from Orange County, submitted by Rich Haley, who was their nomination committee. And for their terms, Michael Bigg has been extended to 4 years. He now expires on June 30th, 2025. Israel Knobloch, 4-year term, expires on June 30th, 2025. And they have a vacant 4-year term that expires on 2025. And the one that expired, that's not on there, and Karen will correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly Pickle was in a delegate but expired. So we'll need to get clarification from Orange County whether she's going to fill that or whether they're going to be filling it with someone else. Karen, did I get that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that really doesn't change anything for you, Nick, correct?
Correct. You also, I sent Karen a note from Duchess reappointing Tim Murphy.
He's getting to it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right, and then I have a letter from Tim Mitchell from Ulster County, who has respectfully rescinded or asked to be removed as his the chair of the tag for the Hudson Valley EMS Vision 2025 due to him being in school with a graduate program that he got accepted to, so he's relinquished that. So that'll be coming up a little bit. And then otherwise I'll get back onto the agenda. Any questions so far? All right, hearing none. Everyone should have got a copy of the minutes from February 17th, 2021. Does anyone have any corrections, changes? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the approval of the
Make that
minutes.
motion.
Second,
Any, go ahead.
David, we have two new people that just came in, which was Neil Maddow and Bernice Garetti.
thank you. I will add them.
Thank you. Any other questions in regards to the minutes from February? Hearing no questions. And just for clarity, the way that I'd like to run this meeting, unless anyone has any objections, we will assume you have a yay vote. What we will ask for is abstentions or a nay vote. This way we can kind of keep the meeting streamlined and moving along instead of Nick trying to go crazy and log all of these as the secretary. So is there any objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes for the approval are minutes from February 17th are approved and will be so logged. Mr. Parrish, if we could have the Vice President's report.
Okay, interesting past couple months. The New Windsor CON, they appealed it to the court system. The court system supported their appeal. That was sent to New York State. New York State, about a month or two later, they issued an emergency CON for New Windsor, and that's in effect until the state addresses any of the issues that go with that CON. All right. As far as committees, we had 4 openings. D asked to be replaced as the chair of the nominating committee. After some convincing, Bobby Cuomo stepped up and became the chair of that. Thanks to Desiree for stepping up and becoming chair of the nominating committee. The awards committee. Still looking for a chair for the public information and education and policies and procedures committee. And again, as the bylaws state, you should be on a committee, and this would fulfill that requirement. All right. And that's it for now.
Any questions for Rich? Hearing none, we'll accept his report. Thank you very much, Rich. So on to the president's report. We had an executive meeting just prior to this one where we discussed a couple of items, most of which will be brought up today. The big one that came out, and I want to take just a couple of minutes to have a conversation about it and let you know that we are going to form a tag, is we have received correspondence from Port Jervis Ambulance that has indicated that they are requesting to upgrade to AEMT status and would like to start the process of that. Subsequent to the ambulance ALS upgrade that we went through a couple of months ago, we have received correspondence from the state indicating that our policy and procedure for ALS upgrades here in the Hudson Valley are, and I will quote the state, arbitrarily and capricious and make them void. So we are in the need of redesigning our ALS upgrade policies and procedures and how they would look. What I did ask Bill to do was reach out to a couple of our sister regions, both Remo and Westchester, to see what their policies were, so that potentially we could just copyright infringe their policies and adopt those. Ironically, and Bill, correct me if I say this wrong, you have not heard back from Remo as of yet, and Westchester's is almost a carbon copy of ours. So that's not going to help. So it appears that we're going to have to sit down and rewrite it. And I say that with full disclosure that in Port Jervis's correspondence, they made it clear that they would be looking to change what has been pretty much a standing order long before I sat on the council and came through here. They are not able at this time in their upgrade to go to a 24/7 service. And they're looking to do it part-time. And that has raised several questions that we do not have time to discuss here. But in the executive committee, we did discuss it briefly. And we all agreed that we need to discuss this from multiple different angles. So what I'm going to ask from the council is that you send Karen an email if you're interested in sitting on a tag, and it's essentially going to be the tag to address the ALS upgrade policy. And we are going to be looking to make it a diverse tag, because we want to make sure that every agency, or not every agency, but every form of agency that is represented here, from the volunteer to the hybrid to the commercial to the municipal, because this has impact on everybody's workload, from quality assurance to quality improvement to care of the patients, of where we go with this in the future. So we need to really sit down and think about what the pros and cons are, and then we need to figure out what the state is going to tell us we can and cannot do, because we have mixed messages. When you read through policy statements and you read through Article 30 language, they're mixed messages. So we don't know exactly where we stand. So it's going to require that. Now, one of the things that we did discover in executive committee is that this, because it's not a standing committee, we can have outside resources. So if somebody on this, on the council, or somebody, somebody that would be an attribute to this tag, I would suggest that you reach out to them and have them send Karen a letter saying that they would be interested, because we want to make this a really diverse group. What we don't want to do is put a lot of time into developing a policy and then find out that it was only good for a short interim fix. We need to address EMS in the Hudson Valley over the course of the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The problem is it's ever changing, and we don't want to write a policy to fix tomorrow and then harm 2 years or 3 years down the road when it comes to the quality of care that we're providing or asking our agencies to provide. So that's what the regional council is. We're a diverse group of people that, get together, work through our differences, come to an agreement, and decide what's best for the Hudson Valley. So again, I'm going to ask anybody that's interested in doing that to go from there. So that was the big item on the ticket that we were talking about. I'll leave the other items that we reviewed quick, which were our audits and financials, to Bill when he gives his report. Otherwise, it was a pretty short meeting, and we were kind of concise in trying to look at that. So that's my report. Is there any questions for me? All right, hearing none. Denise is unfortunately not able to be with us. So Bill, if you could read her report, please.
Yes. Our last meeting was 2/17/21, and from then until now, we've written 37 checks to the tune of $26,932. And our rent and health insurance was $13,666 out of that. We paid our auditor out of that, which was $6,550. And we had a quarterly insurance payment of $1,032, leaving miscellaneous payments for items like water, internet, mail, phones, supplies like that for about $5,600. We transferred $65,000 into the payroll system. And on the deposits, there have been 7 deposits since our last meeting. All vouchers submitted to New York State before March 31st have been paid in full, including interest on several of the vouchers. There was $197.14 worth of interest that the state paid us for our regular vouchers. The vouchers submitted to AMFAR for the opioid overdose program have been paid in full also. And we had one voucher that was outstanding, 20% on education from November. That was paid completely. Pending our, we have third quarter program agency and third quarter regional council vouchers outstanding at this point. They're only for the month of March. They're normally a quarter long, but due to the fiscal year of the state, they asked us to do January and February separately, which were paid for, and then March is the only one that's outstanding, and it comes to about $18,000. Balance in our accounts, our program agency has 141,000, our conference and education has 48,000, and payroll has 26,000. So we have about $217,421 in the bank as we speak. And that is our treasurer's report.
All right, normally, Bill, I would ask you to give the regional staff report, but I'm actually going to ask you to hold for a second and ask Jeff to go, and then ask Bill if you could, Albie just sent me an email saying that he's having trouble logging in. Maybe you can reach out to him direct and see if we can get him logged in.
He might be on the phone right now. Okay, hold on.
Okay, so Jeff, if you don't mind, could you give your report?
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
We are approaching the end of paper PCRs. As of 1 July of this year, we will no longer be accepting or providing paper PCRs. We're only going to have a couple of agencies using the free New York State ePCR paper portal. And one of those agencies is going to be using that as an interim solution before they go live with another vendor. Along that same line, we've been getting some communications from the state as far as what they're going to be using for key performance indicators. Number one on their list is acquisition of 12 lead within 10 minutes of arriving at the patient's side for chest pains, suspected acute coronary syndromes. The other areas that they're going to look at are ROSC, RMAs after naloxone, trauma patients being delivered to the proper facility, pediatric respiratory distress, being certain that they are given a full, complete assessment, which would include lung sounds, SpO2. Patients complaining of stroke, TIA, making certain that they are getting a blood glucose reading. And the last of that, how many of those patients are being taken to the stroke center. A lot of these areas we have already been looking at pretty hefty for the past couple of years. We were ahead of the power curve with the advisory that went out about the 12 leads. We have seen those times decrease, and along with that, the time for completion of an ePCR and submission, we have also seen a decrease in time there, which is good because that's going to be addressed with the state's upcoming ePCR policy that they were supposed to release 2 weeks ago. Other than that, I've been working trying to get caught up on everything that I left behind before I was out with COVID. Working on the dashboard, what I'm still looking for is some input from folks as to what do you want to see as far as statistics on the dashboard. And we have talked in the office before about having a data tag. It's not so much to assist in developing the data, we have it. What do people think is going to be of benefit to their agencies? From the educational perspective, what do you think would be beneficial when you're setting up a CME? There's some things that we can look at. We've got the data. It would be good to do something extraordinarily useful with it. And I think one of the last thing, the past month with posting all of the educational opportunities on our Facebook page, in the last month, we've had more than 10,000 hits on our Facebook page, which is fairly extraordinary. We never had that many before. So people are using it. People are sharing the information. This stuff's getting out there. Questions?
Yeah, what's the status on the latest NEMSIS upgrade coming?
In theory, the new schematron will be released on 1 June. We have been working with the state to correct errors. mostly with is this an ALS assist? Is this an agency assist? We've had a few agencies that have been picked up in an audit, and those questions have been asked, and we've been working on correcting them and trying to make them consistent across the board. The big problem with that is NEMSIS, in their infinite wisdom, did not create all of these categories. And at this point in time, apparently they are rather loath to go back and rework some of this. So we are working with workarounds that most appropriately fit the situation. It's not perfect, but it's good.
Jeff had a question on dashboard information. Most agencies can get their own statistics.
Yes.
Wondering if comparing your agency to other agencies in the region would be beneficial, because other agencies can't see the other agencies.
Do you want an agency to agency comparison or an agency to the region comparison?
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out as an idea, because I know I can see specific my own agency, but I don't know how that compares across the region or across. I don't know if you want to I don't know if putting out a specific agency is beneficial if someone's going to use it for some other means, but maybe region comparison or even county. And I see Dave smirking.
We could do both of those. The problem with comparing agency to agency is you need to make sure it's a like agency. So same basic call volume. And if you wanted to do that with another agency, get an agreement with them, and I would be able to send the data to both agencies and keep it somewhat restricted. I don't want the comparisons to be used in an untoward fashion.
Yeah, that's exactly where agency to agency could lead to that, whereas agency to county or agency to region would actually cover or obscure that.
And eventually the state will have a statewide set of data that we can use to compare region to region.
Can we look at some type of generic bar graph or so, agency A has 12 lead in 13 minutes, and agency B with no names to it, but just generically. So they could take a look and say, oh, here's where we sit compared to other agencies.
Sure, we can do that easily enough.
Yeah.
It keeps it anonymous and gives people an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's and something they don't have from their already purchased solution from their vendor.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else?
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, Jeff. Thank you very much. Bill, we're going to swing back to you, please.
Okay. First, I'd like to wish everybody, happy EMS week. And we know it's been a difficult year for everybody, and people in EMS really deserve the recognition that they need to get from this week. And hopefully you guys are getting it. Well, we went over some of the stuff on the treasurer's report, but our financial condition is been the best that it has been in probably over a year. Well, everything is paid from the state. There's no outstanding vouchers that shouldn't be, and we're pretty solid at this point in time. The only thing is we're now coming up to the end of the first year of a 2-year contract. So I assume that we're going to start doing some more contract stuff very shortly, because it does take a while to get those contracts approved. In the treasurer's report, we talked about the annual audit. The auditor's finding statement was there's no finding or question costs in our audit, so that's good. Just like to remind everybody that Director Greenberg had nominations for EMS team provider recognition during this week, and they will still accept applicants for that up until the end of EMS week. So if you have somebody that you really want to recognize and have the state recognize them, please submit it. Our regional awards are due in the office by May 28th. And the winners of our regional awards will then be submitted to the state. The New York State announced the availability of Muru, which is a statewide EMS protocol app available on Androids and on iPhones. The app is free and it covers protocols, policies, hospital information, medications, and equipment. You can sign on to it right now. And it is agency-based, somewhat agency-based, but it is regional-based also. So when you sign on to that agency, you get that region's policies and procedures, stuff like, and it's from BLSFR right on up through paramedic. And it will also allow you to review the protocols that you should be using. There was 3 new policies that came out this year so far from the Bureau of EMS: community paramedicine vaccination program, the prevention and control of Ebola virus, and the second interim guidance for educational courses. Our region is covered right now as a community paramedicine vaccination program. So if anybody needs them, they can do that. We have RPS in Rockland County, and the rest of it is been applied for the community paramedicine program by Ambulance and by Empress out of Westchester.
So what were the other 2? I got the community paramedicine one.
Prevention and control of Ebola virus, and second interim guidance of EMS education courses.
With the Ebola policy, they're looking for every agency to sign on to the health commerce system and identify 2 people to be the leads for contact for any Ebola issues. Interesting, last week, World Health Organization declared Ebola under control in Africa.
Leadership Academy is sponsoring a virtual series for health and EMS. It starts June 1st and goes to June 10th. They're offering 4 evenings and 2 daytime sessions if you're interested in it. If you haven't gotten any information on it and anybody's interested, they can give me a call and we'll go over that with them. HCS, all agencies should have 2 authorized people to sign into HCS. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming from the state in there. So if your agencies haven't signed up yet, try to get them to sign up. All right. So a lot of agencies have 1, but we do need a second person from each agency. The Richie Robinson and the Marrow EMS staff has moved. They've relocated from Manhattan to Westchester. So they're now at 145 Huguenot Street, room 603 in New Rochelle, New York. If anybody has any questions or can't get in touch with them, let us know. Their phone number should be the same. So the physical office has moved. The EMS Tree of Life Memorial Service that normally would happen this week has been postponed till September 30th, 2021 at 11 a.m. up on Empire Plaza. There'll be 17 names added this year. The Vital Signs Conference is going to be a hybrid conference, and it's scheduled for November 11th through the 14th in Saratoga Springs. There are some on-scene or in-person meetings that you can go to and events that you'll be able to go to, and there'll be some that are online. So you'll have to see which ones they are. I know their hotel block is going quickly. It's last message I had, it was about 50% sold out. Our next REMSCO meeting is September 15th. The next SEMSCO and CMAC meetings are May 25th and 26th. And our next REMAC meeting is June 7th. Right, so anybody interested in those? All of them at this point, I'm not sure about all of them at this point.
Again, because you went a little quick.
Okay, REMSCO meeting is September 15th.
Okay, got it.
SEMSCO and CMAC will be the 25th and 26th of May. And the REMAC will be June 7th.
Okay.
If if anybody hasn't attended the SEMSCO or a CMAC meeting, it would be very interesting. They are webinars, so you'll be able to attend them remotely. And the actual meetings are usually about 2 hours long, each one of them. And they're all, one's done in the morning, one's done in the afternoon, and they're reasonable timeframes. So if anybody's interested, we can give you, when the link comes out, we can give you a link that you can be able to view them if you're interested in seeing that. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions or need anything?
All right, thank you, Bill. Let's move on to our standing committees. Training Committee, Mr. Violante.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dave. Just a note for Nick, it looks like Len Albin, Steve Scully, and Frank Quintero joined us as well, just to make sure that they get on the
Hold
rolls.
on. Wait, give me those again. I'm sorry.
Glenn Albin joined.
Yep.
Steve Scully and Frank Quintero.
Okay, thank you. Got him.
Okay, great.
I see Albie's on too.
Say again?
Albie Bachman's on as well.
Oh yeah, he did get back on. Great. In the world of training, education and training, there's not much going on and everything going on. It's kind of a lot happening. A lot of it ends up being some sort of behind the scenes kinds of things. So in terms of a CLI and a CIC, we're still working on trying to get some courses out for the region. As you all know, with circumstances up in the state, some of those things have been delayed. We're going to try and work with John McMillan and Gene Taylor to get some of those things fast tracked so that we can get some CLI, CIC courses underway in our region. As Bill had said, CMEC SEMSCO is next week. And so you'll probably hear more coming out of that. Additionally, from the state Vital Signs EMS conference, there's a virtual Vital Signs Educator Day on June 11th, 21. You just have to register at vitalsignsconference.com. There is a $49 fee to be able to do that. My understanding is that folks will get some of their education credits that they need for their CLI and CIC through that particular mechanism. I do really want to give a huge shout out to Terry Hamilton for all of the work that happens with NICEVARA and the meeting notes. Those are just stupendous and a huge lifesaver and time saver as well. So thank you very much for that.
We have a diamond with Jim Downey.
Fantastic. And so as we know more about a CLI or a CIC course coming up, we'll let everybody here know. Just remember that the new CME manual has been out for some time. Folks are probably a little lax on getting back to their CMEs because of the extension by the state. And so don't let that stuff creep up on you, and realize that there's new forms and everything else out there that you're going to need to use. So just be aware of that and get into looking at that and your agency updated with those things. With that, unless there's any questions for me, I don't have anything else.
All right, hearing no questions for David, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Dr. Papish, we're going to turn it over to you for REMAC protocol and helicopter reports, sir.
Sure. Let me just pick up my coffee I just spilled. So the last REMAC meeting was in the beginning of March. The two things of note from that meeting: one, regarding the helicopter committee, the helicopter guidelines were voted on and approved, as I recall. And anybody can take a look at that document. The other important thing that we were discussing at the last meeting, we've been discussing, I want to say, at the last 6 meetings. I believe the next REMAC meeting will be voting on stroke destination guidelines for the region. And we've done this in conjunction with Westchester. The tool that we have chosen, we mentioned this at the last REMSCO, I believe, is the New York's, it's NYC SLAMs, which is there are a whole bunch of different guidelines to detect a large vessel occlusion, a stroke that is of significant enough caliber that a patient would benefit from an endovascular intervention. And so the new stroke guidelines use the New York, it comes from New York City SLAMs tool, which we'll have a rollout for, which will allow the providers to evaluate the patient using the tool and determine whether the patient should be taken to an endovascular capable institution and bypass a local basic stroke center, as long as it's within 30 minutes destination of the time from where the patient is. So that is tentatively going to be voted out in the next REMAC, and after that we'll have a rollout to show everybody how to utilize it. It's really easy. It's really just a step more than one or two steps more than the current Cincinnati stroke scale, and it seems like it would be potentially beneficial. So there's going to be one more discussion, hopefully, before a vote at the next meeting. And that's what I got as far as updates, and happy EMS week to everybody.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Frank Quintero. So just to add to that, the Westchester REMAC met this Monday, and I think you sent Richard the stroke REMAC from the Hudson Valley Advisory Report that I suppose you came up with, and we revised it in our meeting, and we spoke about one of the things was the total time from onset of patient symptoms to EMS.
24 hours.
To 24 hours, yeah. So we were discussing the 24 hours time, and we think that that's probably too long of a time for a patient to be within that time frame to go to a stroke center.
Right. Berkowitz and I had a discussion last night about it. And what we're going to do, I'll send you the invite too. There's one more protocol meeting before our vote where we invited Rich and Berkowitz to discuss it. Because it's actually now an AHA guideline is 24 hours. They changed the guidelines to the AHA.
Okay.
We had polled our sites that were capable of doing endovascular, and both of them had said 24 hours. I agree. It sounded kind of like a power grab or patient grab, so to speak. But the guidelines in the AHA say the same thing now. So we should talk about it. Obviously, we can always amend things, but Berkowitz was kind of in agreement once we looked at the AHA guidelines.
Okay. Yeah.
Once again,
that wasn't mentioned in the meeting, so.
Yeah, because he thought it was 5, and everybody did. When we looked,
Right.
we were like, oh. So,
I know, and like even in our hospitals, like things that they've been changing. Like people, when they come within 9 hours, they still send them to comprehensive stroke centers for a thrombectomy, and then I feel like every couple of months they up the hours and the time. But yeah, so we were in discussions with the 24 hours, but it's good that you bring this up. Yeah, if you send me the information to be part of the meeting, that'd be great.
Without a doubt.
And then the other piece of information was just getting into the same time frame with Hudson Valley and Westchester as far as the 30-minute transportation time for patients to go to a thrombectomy center. In Westchester, I don't think we have a lot of difficulty getting a patient within 30 minutes to a thrombectomy center, but in parts of Hudson Valley, we were discussing they may be further away from a thrombectomy center. So that will depend. Maybe it depends on the REMAC, your REMAC, if they want to make a change to that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a distinct possibility. Within our region, it's a lot bigger and there's a lot more land. And so, I mean, there are other mechanisms potentially that people could utilize to get a patient there, helicopter, et cetera.
Right.
But I'll send the invite to you so that you're on it. And then, we'll hopefully
Perfect.
see what we come up with before the next meeting.
Excellent. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Not so much a question, Dr. Pappas, but just an informational, and I'm not sure if he's already reached out to you, but John Nowinski, the EMS representative from Garnet Health, formerly RMC, has been in pretty close contact doing the QI plans and follow up with patients specifically in the stroke environment. And they were looking for a couple of things to be added. I'm not sure if that's going to be falling into. Specifically, they were looking at vision changes and balance of patients. I did direct John to you, and hopefully he'll be able to sit down and work with you what their neurologists are seeing and looking for, because they're looking for this on pre-hospital reports. Not only the Cincinnati stroke scale, but also has there been any vision changes? Has there been any balance problems with the patient? So I directed him to you. If he hasn't reached out to you, expect his phone call, sir.
Yeah, I will. It's interesting you bring that up because, you know, one of the things that we look at in the hospitals are when we look at stroke presentations and stroke metrics and stroke times are the atypical strokes. And strokes that occur in the back of the brain, in the brainstem, tend to present with dizziness and present atypically, and usually or not uncommonly get missed. And so that is an area of interest, like for everybody, how to capture those patients and get them, you know, get them treated quickly and early. Most of the time they tend to miss the TPA window as well, even not just endovascular. But I'll look out for his email. Thanks.
You're welcome, sir. Any other questions for Dr. Papish? Hearing none, we'll move on.
David?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to mention that in case anybody is curious, the iGel project is still on hold. We haven't heard anything from the Commissioner of Health as of yet. Hopefully we'll hear something maybe this week or next week at the SEMSCO. And the other thing is the RTAC. I just got a message the other day that RTAC, which has not met since COVID started, will be having a meeting on 5/27/21 at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I believe it's going to be a Zoom meeting. It doesn't really say that here in the invitation, but I think it did say that in the email. So they have a couple of topics and we'll be meeting then. If anybody's interested, I can forward that information to them.
It's unusual. I got an invite to it.
Okay. Well, I think they've changed the reins over there too.
Okay, very good. Let's kind of move on to it. As a reminder, for those of you that missed it in Rich's Vice President's report, we're still looking for chairs for both the Public Information and Education and Policy and Procedure Committees. Again, this does help satisfy some of the requirements of being a delegate or an alternate. It's not a huge time commitment, but it is a valuable service to the region and to us as providers throughout the region. So I would encourage you to go there. We're going to go over to the esteemed Albie Bachman for the bylaws and legislative.
Good evening, everybody. Before I get into my report, I would just like to show you something and let you know what took place here in the great county of Sullivan in the Hudson Valley, which people don't even know where we are. We know that. But happy EMS week to everybody. And I had the privilege to present before the Sullivan County Legislature and explain to them what is meant by the thin white line of emergency medical services. This is the United States flag with a thin white line. Get it right. So I presented before the legislature and explained to them the importance of the thin white line. I got their permission and their blessing to hang that flag on the flagpole in front of the government center for the entire week, to let you know. So I would urge everybody to explain to those that do not know, because everyone's familiar with what the thin blue line means, the thin red line means, but nobody really understands the thin white line, and it's our responsibility to do that. So just to let you know, if you're in Sullivan County, it's flying in front of our government center. Okay. First, a big thank you to Karen for the diligent work she did in getting out the bylaws to everybody. And thank you to Bill also. Tonight, we vote on those bylaws. And one thing that was just mentioned by the chair is that everyone has a responsibility to join a committee. And everyone that's a delegate has that responsibility, and it's now in the bylaws that you must participate. So when you get the bylaws, read it thoroughly, and let's get everybody to participate in a committee of their choice. Just want to bring a few things to your attention of what's going on in the infamous State Legislature of New York. There was an introduction done just this May 11th in both chambers that they established what is known as the Rural Ambulance Service Task Force. And the purpose of that task force is to conduct a study on the challenges that we in the EMS are facing today. It was forwarded to both government operations committees of both the Assembly and the Senate. We don't know who will be members of that task force, and that will yet to be seen. Next, a bill was introduced this past February. It was presented before the Assembly, and also it's in the Senate. And both the Senate and Assembly Health Committees have that before them. And it provides volunteer EMS technicians advanced cancer disability benefits and the death benefits for certain cancers. So if anyone's going to get cancer in EMS, make sure you pick the right one. All right. Next, also, community paramedicine is still in committee. There's been no movement, or should I say little movement. It is still being discussed, but nothing final. Also in April, sent in the Senate to the Health Committee of the Senate, for those agencies that bill for services, it allows for reimbursement of transportation costs for emergency care without prior authorization by social services. Something that we face every day, which is an annoyance. So hopefully that will come to fruition in the near future. Next, we always talk about what benefits we can get as being volunteers, tax credit for certain volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers and medical personnel. This was introduced just this early May. It's in the Budget and Revenue Committee right now, and it was introduced through the Senate and not yet the Assembly. That's another thing. And also introduced before the Senate in January, establishes do not resuscitate orders on driver's licenses and identification cards. So whenever we come across a cardiac arrest, not only do we look upon certain things, we have to start looking in their wallets, I guess. You know. Now this one I found very interesting. I'm leaving it for almost last. No, one last, but right before last. This is before the Senate. It was put in March. You'll like this one. Prohibits injecting a person with any substance, including but not limited to ketamine, by emergency medical personnel, law enforcement, or any entity without the specific consent of the person or their guardian who is authorized to make a medical decision. Give that some thought. Whoa. So it's in the Assembly Codes Committee. It went through the Assembly, not the Senate. But think about that. I don't think we're going to be paramedics anymore. And last but not least, January, and of last year as well, and it's still sitting in the Senate Local Government Committee, classifying emergency medical services as an essential service. Can you believe it? There is still no movement on that bill. I find it horrendous. With that, that is my report, sir.
Any questions for Albie? All right, Albie, thank you very much for keeping us up to date. Again, that's a lot of homework for you to put out there. And again, I'll kind of just echo his sentiment. Each of these laws that get passed without our input have a direct effect on what it is we do. So the more we stay informed, the more we're speaking to our legislators and make sure that they understand what helps and will hinder is important for them to hear. So thank you, Albie. I appreciate it. I did not notice. Is Mr. Egan able to come on?
I did not see him.
All right, not seeing there, we're there. So now we're up to Desiree, and we're at the awards committee. I don't think you have anything, but maybe you do.
I don't. Just a reminder to everybody to please get them in. We only had award nominations from 3 categories. So please get them in. They're due on the 28th, as Bill said.
All right, any questions for Desiree? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Desiree. We're going to move over to nominations. Again, Mr. Cuomo has graciously agreed to come in and run this nominations committee for our elections, which we'll get to in new business. I believe we have now a chair for that, but it'll move on after this meeting, but we'll go from there. So Bob couldn't be on. Bill, do you have a report?
I can give that report.
Oh, I apologize, Rich. Thank you.
All right, yep. Bob Cuomo took over and Dee asked to get a different chairman for it. So Bob agreed to do it. He was going to try to get on via Zoom tonight, but apparently he couldn't. Denise had to step down because of some issues. So we had an open position for the treasurer, and we do have a nomination for that. So the nominating committee is Dave as president, myself as vice president, Wayne Chan of Orange County as treasurer, and Nick as the secretary. All right. When we get to the elections, it will be opened up to the floor for any nominations.
Any questions for Rich in lieu of Bob? All right, we wanted to give you a couple of minutes so that if we wanted that read in early so that we go there. All right, we'll move on to State Council. David, do you have anything to add from your earlier report, sir?
Nope, State Council is next week. We'll have more afterwards.
Okay, very good. The only thing that David, and again, I don't want to read it into here, but we really need to figure out, there were a lot of policies and procedures put into place under the executive order. We really need to find out if those are going to remain permanent once the executive order expires, because I imagine at some point it's going to expire. And where are we going with, future things? Is 4-year certifications the new thing, or, where are we going? So people are asking, we'll just need to ask the question and see if they have an answer yet.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Any
you.
Any questions for David on there? All right, moving along quickly, we'll get into old business. First thing on the agenda is Anthony with the leadership committee. Was he able to get on?
I have not seen him. Come on.
All right, so we don't have Anthony available. I know we had talked about possibly combining that committee along with the 2025 Vision Committee. We'll need to figure out if somebody's interested in being the chairman of the 2020 tag or 2025 EMS tag vision. We'll be more than happy to accept that. Mr. Mitchell unfortunately had to step down due to his graduate school requirements, but he'll be more than happy to come back when he's through with that, but he just couldn't put the time in. So we're really looking for that. So please come into it. The data usage report tag. I don't see a chairman on that. Jeff, can you help out a little bit on that?
I can.
Feel free. Floor is yours, sir.
Like I stated earlier, we have a preponderance of data, and it would be good if we could figure out how we can take this data and make the most use out of it, so that we can in turn improve how we are doing EMS in this region. We've got a good system now. This data affords us the opportunity to take a look at everything that we're doing and make it better. So we should be able to come up with 1 or 2 metrics that aren't covered by the state KPIs and use those as maybe a short and a long-term project to improve. whatever area we figure we need to improve in.
Jeff, this is Nick. I know that I'm on that tag, and I forget who else is on it. It was in the last month's minutes. Can I suggest maybe you setting up a meeting down at region headquarters? We can just sit down and try to come up with some starting metrics.
Absolutely.
I think that would be a really good idea. That way we can keep things moving.
Excellent, excellent. Teamwork is how we'll get this done. Any other questions on that? The only thing I wanted to circle back to, because I wrote myself a quick note, Mr. Kearns from Putnam, you were inquiring. I'm not sure if you're in as a visitor or you're anticipating being a delegate or an alternate from Putnam, but just to kind of address that for you, sir, if you are going to be nominated as either a delegate or opponent, all we'll need is simply from the Putnam County EMS Council is a letter, email, something over to Karen indicating that you've been added to that, and we will welcome you into a committee and a position, because we're clearly looking for people to come in. So, and I'll take by your nodding that you're more than willing to help. So that's all we'll need to get you involved in this.
Yeah, that's tough, since I'm a full-time fire captain, as well as now a full-time administrator, as well as in graduate school. So it may be a little tough, but we'll see what I can do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you had about 30 seconds of time, and we'll be more than happy to consume it. So, you know, more than happy to consume it. All right. Is there any old business that wasn't on the agenda that somebody'd like to bring up? All right. Hearing none, we'll move over to new business. First item on there is elections. So essentially what I'm going to do is turn it over to Rich Parrish, who will act as Bob Cuomo for the nomination committee, and then go through the nominations. Obviously, we can take nominations from the floor. So I'll turn it over to you, Rich.
All right, what we're gonna do is with the position of president, we'll go through that. When the vice president, I'll turn it over to Dave. You can run the committee at that point. All right, nominations from the committee, like I stated, it was Dave Grass as the president. Are there any other nominations for the position of president? Any nominations for the position of president? Last shot. Any nominations for the position of president? If not, I need a motion.
Closed. I ask the nominations be closed and secretary cast the ballot for
I'll second that.
Mr. Grass.
And so we got Glenn as a second. Again, any abstentions or opposition? Otherwise,
Got it again, Dave.
And there
I
you
don't
go.
hear any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, Dave, I'll ask you to take over as for the VP position.
Very good. The nomination committee put Rich Parrish up for the vice president for the next council cycle. Do we have any nominations from the floor for vice president? Do we have any nominations from the floor for vice president? Do we have any nominations for the floor for vice president? Third and final time.
Make a motion to close nominations from the floor and have the secretary cast the ballot for
Second.
Mr. Parrish.
Second.
Going to give Nick a half a second to get all this documented.
Yeah, I think I could manage.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, you rush through everything else in this call, and then it's one thing that's actually easy. You know, you're worried about me.
This is the slowest I've ever talked to my friend. Okay, again, we're going to hold the same rules. Everybody is a yay vote unless we have any abstentions or nay votes. So we'll start with, is there any nay votes for Rich Parrish as vice president, secretary casting one ballot? Hearing none, do we have any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is so passed. Mr. Parrish, welcome to the Vice President, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. All right, the position of treasurer, as mentioned, Denise had to step down. Wayne Chen voiced an interest. We did send him a list of the requirements. Bill did a nice job of putting that together. All right, and after seeing the list, he did voice an interest. So Wayne is our nomination for treasurer. Are there any other nominations for the position of treasurer? Any further nominations for treasurer? Last call. Any nominations for treasurer?
Make a motion to close nominations and have the secretary cast one ballot for Mr. Chen.
Second.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. And again, any opposition to the motion? Any abstentions to the motion? Motion carries. All right, for the position of secretary, Nick Trio is the nominating committee's recommendation. Are there any other nominations for the position of secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Last call. Any nominations for secretary?
Make a motion to close nominations and to have the secretary, whoever that is at the moment.
The secretary can't do it. You have to have
The vice
the
president.
vice president submit the vote.
Oh, I get the vote. All right. All right. You have a second to it. All right.
Second, that the vice president cast one vote for Nicholas Trio for secretary.
Okay.
May God have mercy on all your souls.
We have a motion on the floor. Again, any opposition to the motion? Any abstentions to the motion? I cast one ballot for Nick. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
That completes the nominating committee.
All right, Rich, thank you for covering that for Glenn. And again, we're going to be looking for a chair for that for next year too. As far as there, I'm not sure if Bob is interested in continuing on as that, or if Dee's going to be able to resume it. We'll take that when it gets there. That's fine.
Yep.
Next on our agenda is a vote for the bylaws. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bachman.
Okay, sir. At our last meeting, we had read the bylaws. They have now sat in proper time. It is now time for those bylaws to be presented before you for approval. Everyone has received a copy, if I'm not mistaken, of those bylaws, all delegates. And I presume that you have reviewed them and you're ready to vote tonight on that approval. So I'll make a motion at this time, Mr. Chair, to have all the bylaws presented to all the delegates to be approved at this time.
There's a second.
A second.
All right, hearing a second. Any questions? Hearing no questions, we're going to follow the same format. A yay vote is assumed. What we're going to ask for is objections or a nay vote. Hearing none on either, the motion is so passed.
And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank Karen personally for the hard work that she did in getting these bylaws together and getting them out to everybody. So thank you, Karen.
I also think Albie needs a thank you also because of the amount of work he had to do to get that stuff all put together.
With Karen's help, we got it all done. So Thank you.
Outstanding. Well, before we adjourn it, and I know everybody wants to go, we're a little long on time here. There's just a couple of things that I'd like to remind everybody of the group. First of all, this is a dynamic group, but very diverse. Everybody is doing their share of working towards an end goal. But as those bylaw changes now go into effect, we don't want to use them as a stick to whip people. What it was is an enticement to be able to encourage people to be part of where EMS is going to go over the next months and years and decades. And that's really what we need. What we need are individuals that are willing to be heard, individuals that are willing to disagree with each other, but work to an end goal. And that end goal is bettering our system. And it's diverse. We're a wide counties. As Albie said before, from, the outstretches of Sullivan County to, Putnam County up to Ulster and right through the middle, coming back through Dutchess, Rockland, and Orange. But we need to work together. And the only way we work together is to put the time and effort in. And I realize that everybody that's here today has no extra time, except Bob Kearns. He's got 30 seconds. So, but what we're looking for is, carve out just a little bit of time, be part of what we need to do to make this system better. Because that's what it's all about. We're all about working together, meeting each of our goals. So with that in mind, short of the plan right now, short of not being allowed to because something dramatically changes, our next regional council meeting will be in person. We did not have this one, and I just want to bring everybody up to speed why we made that decision. While the rules have all changed recently, about 3 weeks ago, Bill and I started reaching out to the landlords of the building to find out what they would allow, and they were still hesitant of changing any of the rules for the classroom. So worst case scenario, if we cannot meet at the council building in New Windsor, we will be looking for a host where we can do a little more social distancing. But I think we really need in September to get back to that interaction and that interpersonal communication that went on both before and after the council meetings to really get the camaraderie and the working together moving forward. So
What's the date for the next meeting? No offhand?
I would have to look at my calendar. Bill, help me out here. Karen.
All right, while you're
September
looking that
15th.
up, just to echo what Dave said, there are 26 people on this Zoom meeting. Every one of you are part of this council. There's a limited number of people right now that actively get involved in the operation of the council. 26 people, there's 26 opinions, and each person's got their own expertise. We need that. The region EMS has got to move forward. We've seen it with COVID that we're out there, but are our legislatures, are our politicians recognizing the job we do? We need to keep contact with them. We didn't do a legislative breakfast this year, but it's up to each one of us to get to our local legislatures and let them know what we're doing and what support we need from them. Right? And if everybody got involved, we could really move this organization forward.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Thank you to everybody. David and everybody else. We'll look at
David,
yeah,
sorry.
I see. I was going to address Nick's question about the hybrid. One of the difficulties that we had with the hybrid was, and again, we're looking at a workaround. I know that Bill and Jeff were discussing it. It's when we're hybrid, if somebody in the group is talking and not near a microphone, the people that are in the Zoom portion of it can't hear the question and then lose part of the discussion. So we're trying to figure out how we can address that with a hybrid piece for it. So yeah, we have tossed that around, and that may very well be. Frank Cassanite had offered out Orange County, and they have a big auditorium where we could social distance and go from there. So that may be a consideration. So again, what we want to do is make sure that, because I think that interpersonal reaction that we got both pre and post the meeting was as valuable as the meeting sometimes.
Yep.
So we really need to get back to that and go from there. So again, just as a quick reminder, because Mr. Violante is beating me up with it, SEMSCO and CMAC meetings are the 25th and 26th, so that everybody's in there. REMAC for us will be meeting on June 7th, and the REMSCO meeting for us is again on September 15th. And far enough in front of that meeting, we will have made a final decision whether we're going to be total Zoom, hybrid, or full in-person. And that's going to be based on where everything goes over the summer. So until then, as Bill said in the beginning, thank you for everything you do as far as EMS providers. Please go out and acknowledge your colleagues and those that are doing the front lines day in and day out. And more importantly, be safe, and we will talk soon. Thank you very much. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Hey, it's only 4 pages this time.
I can keep talking if you'd like, Nick.
No, it's okay. It'll make it easier for me to get the stuff into Bill.
I see a question.
Happy EMS week, everybody.
Yeah, you.
Hey, have a good one.
Thanks, Albie.
Bob,
Take care,
Thank you,
guys.
everybody.
just Bob Kearns, before you jump off, if you reach out to Karen, she can get you a copy of the policies that you're looking at for the air medicals.
It is available on our website also. Current version is out there.
All right, everybody, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, guys.
See you, bye.
Bye. Is everybody going?
Yep.
What are you doing, Bill?
I was just closing BJ down.
Oh.
That was a long meeting.
Yeah,
What
But I
time
think-
was it?
20 after 8.
Yeah,
And that was a long meeting?
an hour and a half plus 40
Executive
minutes
meeting.
on the executive committee right
Oh,
before.
for you, usually these meetings go until freaking after 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. Well, but I think we got a lot done. I think everything was good.
Move right along.
Yeah. I don't have anything. I'm just gonna leave this mess right here until tomorrow.
You could tell the difference.
Yes, I can. I'm very organized. I
He thinks
put it-
he's very organized.
just put it in piles. I don't
And then
shred
he says,
everything.
Karen, do you know where I put this?
And I
and I
find
look
it
through your-
every time.
And I look through your piles.
Right. And we find it, right? Because it's right here.
Yeah, 20 minutes later.
All
But
right.
it's okay. All right, I'm done.
Me
All
too.
right.
I got an hour ride yet.
See you bright and early.
Yep. Have a good
No,
day.
you won't.
You too.
Why not? Where are you going?
I'm going out to have a drink.
Oh, that's good idea. Enjoy it.
It's called Dunkin' Donuts. No, only kidding. All
All right. Have a good
right,
night.
guys, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Bye.
All right, bye.